Ladies and gentlemen, may I present the one-off copper-clad unicorn that somehow escaped both the racetrack and the jewelry counter, the 1965 Mercer-Cobra Roadster. A concept so extravagant, so improbably bronzed, that even the sun would have squinted. Imagine a vehicle that blends a Shelby Cobra's bite with the shine of a five-star hotel lobby. That's right, it's got brass in places you didn't even know could be brass. Smash that button for more forgotten legends, crazy one-offs, and cars that made engineers question reality. Let's set the scene. It's the early 1960s, and Virgil Exner, yes, that Exner, the man who gave Chrysler its forward look and a design language that could double as spacecraft blueprints, had just retired. But if you thought Exner was done shaping metal dreams, think again. Esquire magazine approached him with a simple question. What would classic marques like Mercer, Packard, Stutz, and Duesenberg look like if they were born in the jet age? Exner, joined by his son Virgil Jr., responded not just with sketches, but with bold reimaginings. Long hoods, swept tails, brass-era drama, reborn in fiberglass and copper poetry. One of these reimaginings, a modern take on the Mercer raceabout, caught the eye of George M. Hartley, president of the Copper Development Association. Now, Hartley didn't just see a drawing, he saw a business card for copper itself, a literal rolling showroom of metallurgy. And so the gears were set in motion. Hartley commissioned the Exners to bring their Mercer vision to life, not on paper, but in polished metal, brass trim, and copper glory. And what better bones to build this dream upon than a Shelby Cobra chassis? Yes, the Mercer-Cobra Roadster sits atop chassis number CSX-2451, originally delivered via Shelby American in February 1964 as a bare-bones kit. Wheels, axles, brakes, fuel tank, and the 289 cubic inch V8 engine ready to be installed. AC Cars of the United Kingdom, who built the original Cobra bodies, happily supplied the unbodied frame, which was then lengthened to a 108 inches wheelbase to accommodate the dramatic new proportions. But the challenge remained. Who would build the body? With Carrozzeria Ghia tied up in financial woes, Exner took a tip from designer Brooks Stevens and turned to Carrozzeria Sibona Bassano in Turin. Founded by Elio and Emilio Bazzano with the addition of master metalworker Pietro Sibona, the shop was a rising star in Italian coach building. They took Exner's vision and sculpted it into existence, cloaking the Cobra's mechanical guts in a tailored tuxedo of steel, acrylic, and 11 different types of copper-based alloys. Delivered in 1965, the Mercer-Cobra immediately stood out, not just because it was beautiful, but because it sparkled like a chandelier. This car wasn't just a concept, it was a concept with a mission: to sell copper, glorify American design, and stun auto show crowds from Detroit to Delhi. The CDA paraded it around 6 continents, showcasing the endless possibilities of copper and brass in automotive design. Let's talk tech. Powering the Mercer-Cobra was Ford's 289 cubic inch V8, roughly 4.7 liters of American thunder, the same heart that thumped inside many Shelby Cobras. The exact horsepower output was never advertised, but with Shelby's standard-tuned engine and a manual 4-speed gearbox, let's just say it had more than enough juice to make your 2P shift lanes. Suspension came from the Cobra platform as well. 4-wheel independent suspension with transverse leaf springs and disc brakes all around. That meant the Mercer wasn't just a show pony, it could actually corner, stop, and in theory, burn rubber. Although, let's be honest, no one wanted to scuff those copper-accented wheels. Timmy once said if you scratched the Mercer's rims, it'd feel like kicking a Fabergé egg. Now let's appreciate the real magic, the materials. The Mercer-Cobra isn't painted with copper-colored accents, it's actually adorned in the stuff. The brass-style grille was made of real brass. The dashboard gauges, steering wheel spokes, exhaust tips, even the brake discs, copper alloys. The wheels were dressed with brass covers. Silicon bronze was used for moldings, and to keep it from tarnishing, much of it was sealed under acrylic. It's like if a car was built inside a luxury pipe organ factory. Dimensions? The wheelbase measured 108 inches, or 2,743 millimeters. The car sat low with a wide stance, and despite its Cobra underpinnings, it felt visually longer due to the elongated hood and tapered tail. Its frameless plexiglass windshield wrapped elegantly around the cabin, like a bracelet on a copper wrist. The design tricks were clever too. Those headlights? retractable. When off, they swung flush into the sides of the nose like a secret agent hiding his badge. Rear taillights were embedded in brass tunnels within the rear mudguards. Even the heat shield over the side exhausts was made of silicon bronze, because nothing says "don't burn your ankles" like metallurgical showmanship. Still, the Exners achieved something remarkable. They resurrected a long-dead nameplate, honored its racing legacy, wrapped it in Italian craftsmanship, and dressed it in a metallic tuxedo, and they did it all under a copper-colored spotlight, with just one car built. Yes, only one Mercer-Cobra was ever made. Just the single chassis, CSX 2451. That's not rare, that's unicorn DNA stuff. Design-wise, the Mercer-Cobra was a wild paradox, simultaneously retro and futuristic. It resurrected the spirit of the 1911 Mercer raceabout with its brass cues, detached fenders, and open wheels, but it also pushed forward with plexiglass, hidden lighting, and aerodynamic grace. The long, blade-like front fenders sliced back from the vertically stacked grille, leaving the engine sides exposed. The rear fenders didn't try to hide the wheels. Instead, they ended early with curved mudguards that looked like Art Deco eyebrows. That brass grille? 8 vertical bars set in front of a mesh stone guard, leading the nose like the prow of a ship. The designers used chrome sparingly, just enough to catch the eye, but never to overwhelm the copper hues. Even the seats and interior panels were trimmed in copper and black leather, giving the cabin the aura of a gentleman's club. The philosophy behind the Mercer-Cobra was no accident. Exner wasn't making a pretty face, he was making a point. His revival car project, of which the Mercer was a key part, was all about channeling the elegance and charisma of pre-war marques into modern engineering. It wasn't nostalgia, it was a rebuke to the bland cookie-cutter designs taking over mid-1960s American roads. Exner believed modern cars lacked identity, and he wasn't afraid to weld character back into the bodywork with a blowtorch of style. In his own words, it was about recapturing elegance and originality. And yet, despite being a one-off, the Mercer-Cobra did influence thinking. Designers saw it, magazines celebrated it, auto shows paraded it. The cover of Automobile Quarterly gave it 6 full pages of adoration. In a time when fiberglass was rising and chrome was falling, the Mercer-Cobra said, "Copper still slaps." So what about value? Let's talk money. When the Cobra chassis was delivered to Turin, the base price for the mechanicals was about $3,000. And that. Sibona Bassano's coachwork added roughly $10,400. The Copper Development Association paid a tidy $35,000 total, nearly as much as a house at the time. Decades later, after bouncing through the hands of collectors like Joe Bortz, Al Wright, Tom Barrett, and finally the Lyon family, the Mercer-Cobra hit the auction block. In 2011, RM Auctions, Monterey Lot 231, hammered it down for $660,000. Adjusted for inflation, that's just north of $900,000 today. So here's to the Mercer-Cobra, a singular creation with enough brass to challenge any era and enough presence to melt cameras under showroom lights. Whether you admire its historic roots, technical daring, or just the gall it had to be so shiny, there's no denying it earned its place in the pantheon of dream cars. A huge shout-out to our channel sponsors, those glorious souls keeping us fueled with coffee and enough patience to listen to Timmy's theory that this car could probably float. Now go forth, dear viewer. May your projects gleam like bronze, your neighbors be less like HOA tyrants, and your friends always carry ketchup for the right reasons. Subscribe, stay weird, and keep chasing the cool ideas.